Hey everybody, Lee and Jim with LG Speed and Custom, and in this video we're going to cool things down on Steve's 59 Ford. So you guys remember Steve's 59 Ford Galaxy? Jim and I installed a 4-link suspension and an AccuAir E-Level kit in this a few months back. And while the car was here, Steve said, hey, you know what? You guys might as well put air conditioning in it too, because then we'll just get everything over and done with. And when he comes and picks it up, it'll be ready for the whole summer. So that's what we're gonna do in this video, is install a Vintage Air Heritage Series air conditioning kit. Let me show it to you. So this here is a Vintage Air under dash, what they call the Heritage Series air conditioning kit. We've got, this has the condenser and the fan and everything built into it. It's an entire assembly that goes under the dash. This box here, we have a hose kit. We're gonna build all our own hoses and stuff for it. In here we have the, what's this piece called again? Not the condenser. Is it the condenser? I thought, no, that's the evaporator. This is the condenser, yeah. That goes up front with the radiator. And then to make things a little bit complicated, over here, this is a classic auto air system, which is a different brand. It's like Vintage Air's competition, I guess. And the reason we have that is, if you guys remember last year when we did the Cummins install on Brown Sugar had a 390 in it, and I had that classic auto air conditioning system on it. The 390 is no longer in there. It's got a Cummins in it now, and we use the Cummins air conditioning compressor. So I already had all the AC stuff for an FE engine, which is what is in Steve's 59 Ford. So we're gonna, it's a little bit different going from the truck 390 to the car 352, but I'm pretty confident that we can make it work. Really all the objective is we just have to get this compressor to work on that engine, and then from there, all this stuff we can hook up later. So that's what we're gonna do in this video. Let's get to it. So I've started off under the hood here, mounting all these brackets as per the instruction kits from Classic Auto Air. And I called them the other day and told them what we were doing, and they told me that this is not gonna work, but I think that we can still figure it out. In the meantime, Jim has moved inside the car, and he is mounting the under dash unit. So it's a universal thing. And pretty much all that matters on that is you have, easy access to hook the hoses on the back, and it needs to sit level so that, because it, condenses and makes condensation, and that condensation needs to drain. So it has to sit level. The kind of the cool thing about that unit is it has the evaporator, the fan, everything. It's all one unit. So you don't have to tap into the heater system at all. It's completely separate independent unit from the heater. So the heater stays as is. This is a separate thing. It's got its own fan. It's got its own temperature control. Two separate things, which I think really simplifies it and makes it an easier, cleaner install. Well, I got the compressor mounted on here using the kit from my old 390, and it's not exactly the same as it was on the 390, but it works pretty good, I think. The idler works, the old belt from the 390 works, so I think that's good. Step 2, we gotta mount the power steering still. So there is another bracket from the kit that we don't have for this style power steering pump, but I'm gonna try to build one, I think. So I just used a syringe here and sucked all the fluid out of there. Put it in here for now, we'll reuse that later. But yeah, we'll take the power steering pump off now and see if we can build a bracket. This is kind of the bracket that we need to build. Something similar to that. I think we can do that. I don't know, we'll give it a try. Jim's making progress on mounting the evaporator and fan and, I don't know, that whole, whatever you'd want to call it, apparatus assembly. It's coming along nice. Looks factory in there. Factory. So here's my plan. This is the power steering pump bracket from the kit that came off my truck. It fits the brackets that we put on the car, but this bolt hole pattern is for a truck style pump, which is a little bit different than this. So I think I am going to make a paper template with this bolt pattern and lay it on here and then just re-drill it, because it fits okay. It's just the holes don't line up. So we'll start with that, because I know this already fits. It should hopefully give us the right spacing. All we can do is try it and see what happens. So I just laid our paper template over top of the piece here. We're going to take a center punch and punch some holes. I don't know if we'll be able to use all these holes. I don't know if we can use this one, because it's pretty close to, there's a original hole already there. So if we take this off, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. That one, I don't know, we might be able to get creative with that. So if you're wondering how I got these holes on here, here's a trick that I learned. I learned this years ago from watching a video with Mad Fabricators video with Bob Bleed. You put your piece of paper over top of your hole, and then you take something like this pen, and you just rub it on there. Bam, there's our hole. Let's drill these out and see how it fits. Okay, so this worked out pretty good. Our holes all lined up, our brackets bolted on there. I think this one up here, probably just chop that off there and maybe chop this one off here, because the original one only had 2 bolt holes holding it, so 3 should be plenty. Trim those ends down, painted it black. Let's put it in and see how it fits. If it fits, this might not even work. Let's bolt it in there. I think it's gonna work okay, but our pulley spacing, we're a little too far back. So I'm gonna cut some spacers out on the plasma table and then we'll try it again. So these will just be some 3/16 spacers that we can put behind in between the little plates to push it apart. Let's try that. All right, well, those spacers, they got it lined up right where we want it. So the only problem now is this is the belt that it used to have, and the belt goes from this pulley down to the power steering pump pulley. This is the one off my 390, and it's a little bit too short. So this pump must sit a little further away than it did on my truck. But we can go to the parts store and get a longer one. I took our belt to the parts store and I asked Glenn for the next 3 sizes. Pro tip, when you're going to buy belts, buy 3 at a time, because it's never the one that you think it's going to be. and it happened to be just the next size bigger, 26 5/8. This one I believe was 25 inches, and then from there we jump up to that's 30 inch, 27 and wait, that one should go there, 27 5/8, and then 30 5/8. So we're in there. It was a little close to the reservoir here, so I put some chalk on it and turned it, and even though it looks really close, it doesn't touch, so I'm not worried about it. I think our compressor is done. Now we can just do the condenser and then start running some lines. Well, here's our condenser. This mounts in front of the radiator, kind of like there's already a transmission cooler in there, so it's gonna mount kind of same idea is that. It has a number 8 hose that comes from the compressor right into here, and then it exits through a number 6 hose, which will go that way through the air dryer, and from the air dryer into the evaporator, which Jim is putting back in for the 15th time. This is one of those put it in, take it out, put it in, take it out, put it in, take it out kind of things. While he's been taking it in and out a bunch of times, he has mounted the bulkhead fittings down here. So those come from the evaporator. They run along the inside of the firewall and then come out there. And from here, they will, the big one here goes to the compressor, and this comes from the air dryer that I was just talking about along here. Another thing he has done is you can't really see it in here because it's dark, but way down in there he drilled a hole through the top of the transmission tunnel, and there is a drain system that comes out of the evaporator and lets the condensation just dribble out on the floor. I'm sure you've seen cars idling in the parking lot on a hot day and there's something dripping underneath. That is the condensation from the air conditioning. So I'm going to take a look at this and see what all's involved in making it work. It came with some universal brackets, which mean nothing to me. They might work, they might not work. All we can do is try it and see. Well, I don't believe it. As Jim just said, write it down on the calendar. On this day in history, we mounted a universal fit condenser with the supplied brackets without having to drill a single hole. We were able to utilize factory holes already in the rad support. These little brackets go from, they bolt on here, kick out, and then bolt onto the rad support here on both sides. And then at the very bottom, they were able to, let me bring you underneath here. They squeezed in between this splash pan and used the factory holes right here on both sides. So that condenser is now mounted behind the grill. There is a little bit of a distance between here and the radiator. I don't know if that'll be an issue or not. It's kind of one of those you'll have to try it and see situations. The condenser, sometimes if it's really, really hot out and you're sitting at like a long red light, there's not enough airflow going through it to cool it down, and your air conditioning might start blowing, not as cold as it was. Once you start moving and the airflow goes through it, it'll cool back down again. If it isn't getting enough airflow, you can always put an electric fan on it. And this condenser definitely has enough room between the back of the condenser and the front of the radiator that we can put an electric fan on there if needed. When I did my truck, there was a few people said, you're probably gonna need an electric fan on that. And it's fine, I don't need an electric fan. It's never sitting at even the longest red lights on the hottest day. It's never been an issue. Mind you, keep in mind we're in Canada. It does not get ridiculously hot here like it might in, say, Texas or something like that. So I'm confident that it's going to be okay. We'll give it a try. If it's not, like I said, it's no big deal to put an electric fan on there. Jim's wiring everything up under the dash right now. So while he's doing that, I think I'm going to maybe move on to, we still got to mount the air dryer, and then we got to run lines. I've got these guys just kind of mocked up on the compressor here. This big guy has to go to the big guy back there. And then this littler one goes in the condenser, out of the condenser, into the air dryer, through the air dryer, into the little guy on there. Well, with the condenser mounted, I'm starting to run hoses now. We've got our, I forget what this hose is, the discharge hose, I think? I don't know, the hose that goes from the condenser to the compressor. I've got it routed in a nice area where it's kind of out of the way. It runs just along the back of the rad support here, down that way, and then we can crimp it on here. So we'll chomp this off with the Mighty Snips. Yeah, these things are incredible. The Marty Snips. So we'll crimp that hose now and then put it on. So we're gonna crimp these lines now. I put a little mark on here with a grease pencil just to index our hose. We'll take these off, take them over to the bench here where we've got the crimper set up ready to go. Nobody in Victoria makes air conditioning lines. So to make these, I had to buy a crimper so we can make them ourselves. So if you're in Victoria, need air conditioning lines crimped, Jim is the crimp expert. Okay, here's our crimper. It has different jaws or dies or whatever crimps you want to call them in the kit for different size hoses, because this kit uses a number 10, a number 8, which is what this one is, and a number 6. And they just pop out, and then the other ones pop in, just like that. So we'll put the number 8s back in. They're labeled number 8, so you know what's happening. So they sit in there like that. We're gonna double check that our line is still lined up. And then lay that in there about in the middle. Drop this down. We got our little pin that goes through here. And then we tighten this up. Make sure we're centered this way. 3/4 inch flat wrench on top. It says right in the instructions not to use an impact. And we're going to tighten this up until this edge right here meets this little purple line. There we go. That should be crimped. Look at that. Kerblamo. Now, in the instructions, it says there's special crimp calipers you can buy to measure that crimp to make sure it's the right one. I don't have that, so we're just gonna pretend that it is. There's one crimp done. Now we can make this end. And then this hose will be done. This one's a little awkward to get in because this has our little, this is so that you can hook the machine up to charge the air conditioning system. All right. There we go. This hose is made. That was really easy. I'm really curious if I can like use this to make, you know, power steering hoses and stuff. I'll have to look into that. When we go to put this on, notice this little O-ring right here, this little green O-ring. This is mineral oil. You want to put a little bit of mineral oil on that O-ring so when you put it together, it's, you know, not going in dry. It's lubricated and can seat properly If you don't put oil on it, they can tear. And if they tear, then you have a leak. And if you have a leak, then you don't have air conditioning anymore. Done. Let's put this back on and start making the rest. Okay, we're all plumbed up here. We've got our other hose coming out of the condenser here. And then I just run everything with the heater hoses here. It goes into the air dryer. And then down there, it goes through this bulkhead back into the evaporator, and it makes a full loop. Jim finished wiring everything up. We've got the clutch goes to the safety switch, which then goes to the evaporator. Everything in here. Is it working? Yeah, you guys feel that? You feel refreshed?
Should have brought a sweater.
All right, I think now we can start the car. We'll make sure our belts are gonna be happy. I'm pretty sure they will be. This battery cable's a little weird. There we go. And if the belts are good, we can take it over to Nigel and get it charged up. Cool. Well, that seems fine. Oh, our vapors are all blowing away. Try the power steering. Oh yeah, that works good. Oh, now to full lock. Okay. Try the, turn the air conditioning on and I'll see if the clutch works. No clutch. The clutch might not work because there's no pressure in it. That's what that little safety switch over there does. So Nigel will have to charge it first. I just checked our battery with a multimeter to make sure it was charging. Off camera, we put a PowerMaster Power Gen on this because with the AccuAir system in here, the 30 amp generator that used to be on this car, it couldn't keep up. So now it's got a 90 amp alternator that looks like a generator to keep the compressors happy. And it's working. All right, well, we just drove the car over to Nigel at Gorge Vale to get the system charged up, and he's like, yeah, we can do it right now. So Jim and I are gonna walk back to the shop. At least it's sunny out. Well, now what? Sidewalk ends.
This is it.
I guess we have to just jaywalk. Yesterday we dropped the car off at Gorge Vale at 4:30 in the afternoon, half an hour before they closed for the day. And at 7:51 a.m. the next day, today, they said, hey, your car's ready, come get it. That was completely unexpected, so we're on our way there to pick it up right now. Okay, we got the cool cam going. Just fired this thing up. And it is blowing cold air. Ooh, too cold. Let's turn this on low. We'll head back to the shop. The car's been sitting here idling for a little bit, and it is blowing nice and cold still. So that's a good sign. We'll see how this condenser goes as to whether or not it needs a fan or not, but I think it might be okay.
All right, well, that's going to conclude this video. Jim's in the background here doing his best reenactment of the car wash scene from Cool Hand Luke. Steve's on his way down from Courtney. He's going to pick the car up and drive it back. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to stop by the website, lgspeedcustom.com, to get some LG Speed and Custom merch. And yeah, we'll see you guys on the next video. The next video, you guys want to know what the next video is? Check this out. This is John Broman's 41 Ford pickup. This truck was painted in 1964, pinstriped in 1982. It is a super cool Survivor 60s hot rod truck. And we are taking the 3-speed out, and we're going to be replacing it with one of, probably this one, T5 5-speed transmission. We're putting the T5 behind the flathead. We're converting the original Banjo rear end to open drive. So make sure to subscribe and hit notifications so that when this video comes out, you know all about it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later.